news and results. It's part of a Sunday Baby! Let's do it! It's Mega Rant Monday! And you know what that means. We are going to take a look back at everything from this past weekend in Chicago, Illinois at Cicero Stadium. Impact presented Chicago Heat on Friday night and Saturday night. These were tapings for the Access TV weekly shows. So for the next 4 weeks, be expecting all of what I'm going to be talking about here in this Mega Rant on Access TV. Everything should be set, locked, and ready to go for TV on Access for the next 4 weeks leading up to not only Multiverse United, but Emergence on, I believe it's the 29th of August. It's the same weekend as All In. I believe the difference is All In, I believe, don't quote me on this, but I think All In is on Saturday. This will be on Sunday of that weekend. I'm pretty sure that this is a Impact Plus pay-per-view as well. They really didn't talk about that one way or another, but there was a lot of Emergence advertising on the video screen and stuff. So there was a significant part of particularly Saturday's show that was the lead-in to Emergence. So a lot of stuff to really cover from these tapings. I looked on the internet, and once again, this has been an issue with Impact's last couple rounds of tapings, but there was no information on the Friday taping, that July 28th taping of Chicago Heat. So we'll talk about that in detail. We'll talk about the Saturday results, so lots of spoilers here. So if you are an Impact fan who want to watch the weekly shows and see what all unfolds, you may not want to go very further into this report and this Mega Rant, because I'm going to be spoiling basically 4 weeks of TV in this Mega Rant with all the results from Chicago and Cicero Stadium. Before we get into the spoilers, let's get into some little bit of details on the shows. I put in for both nights roughly about 1,000 to 1,200 people. A little, maybe I would say particularly on Saturday, maybe a little bit less than what Impact had in July for the 2 nights of tapings from those nights. I think those were pretty jam-packed because of the Trinity factor. This one, I think Fridays was just a little bit more people than Saturdays, as a heads up. I put roughly 1,000 to 1,200 each night. Now, coming up for Bound for Glory, I expect much higher attendance here. It is almost sold out at this point, and I think there's an opportunity for the company to even maybe add more seating on the one side of the arena opposite from the entrance stage. I've heard from people at the show that I attended with that they said, like for instance, MLW had more seating on that far side opposite from the entrance stage. And from looking at things, they had a lot of black tarp covered in a lot of areas at Cicero Stadium for these tapings. From my understanding, they can pull out further seating on that one side, probably get maybe another, I'm not sure, perhaps 300 to 400 people. I'm just speculating on that, and who knows? Time will tell, but whatever the case, pretty good turnout. The crowd was into both of these nights. The crowd was great for these shows. My personal feelings was Friday night had the lesser quality in-ring, and then Saturday night really picked it up on the in-ring, and that helped the crowd reactions as well. In fact, Saturday's show was by far way better than Friday night show. Friday night show kept just kind of had that feeling of malaise, just kind of going through the motions. The booking wasn't very inspiring on Friday's show. Saturdays just had a lot more meat to the bone, so to speak, for the tapings. Also, another thing on Friday, it was so hot in Cicero Stadium. It was very hot outside. There was a heat wave going on in Chicago leading to a significant storm only like about an hour after this show ended, shit started hitting the fan in suburban Chicago. I barely made it back to my hotel in Schaumburg, Illinois. Boy, oh boy, it was wild. Wild for sure. Let's talk about the experience I had with platinum tickets once again. This is the second time in a row in Chicago that I've done this. And there was some pretty fun little extra added things that they offered for the platinum experience. One of them was a free poster of the Chicago Heat event, which is right here. I did pick up an Impact hat, which was not part of the package. Some other things that were fun. Got a photo op, kind of in ringside, standing on the steps, holding the Ultimate X gimmick that they have hanging from Ultimate X matches. They had all platinum ticket holders given that opportunity. And then the next night, on Saturday night, they did some giveaways. They gave away in a raffle kind of situation. They gave away a free turnbuckle pad. They gave away a free ring skirt. Then in addition, let me take a little gander here and show you what I have to show off. Got a Moose autograph picture, and then as well, I got this little item here, a broken table souvenir signed by PCO with Chicago Heat 2023 listed on here. I think this was a pretty cool little souvenir that they gave us this time around at these shows in Chicago. So all in all, from the Platinum Experience side, really awesome stuff. I'm trying to get another Platinum ticket for Bound for Glory weekend. I'm having a little trouble finding and securing those tickets, but I'm going to continue to see what I can do with that. In the very least, I plan on having a pretty good ticket for Bound for Glory and the night after, which is the Access tapings, coming up mid to late October. So I will be going back to Cicero Stadium for these events. Other things to note from the shows. One big thing going into the shows that I talked about in the preview ran on Thursday night, early Friday, was the return to major promotions of Samurai del Sol, the former Kalisto. And I don't know what the story was with this, but on night one, Samurai del Sol did a injury angle in the back with Leo Rush, who took him out, and because of that, he was not able to make the six-man tag match they had scheduled, which was Bully Ray, Brian Myers, and Moose against Laredo Kid, Black Taurus, and originally Samurai del Sol. There was no person that replaced Samurai del Sol in the match particularly, so that was it for the former Kalisto on night one. We didn't see him in action. He didn't appear in front of the crowd. There was nothing going on there. But on night two, he did make the scheduled match that was announced ahead of time. Chris Sabin against Samurai del Sol. And one thing to note with that match was that in that match, it was very much a ground-based match. A lot of submissions, a lot of slow mat work going on in that match. It was kind of a surprise. I expected a lot more action in this match, and they had a few spots of good, high impact, top rope maneuvering, things of that nature. There was a couple spots where Kalisto, or the former Samurai del Sol, the former Kalisto, did some springboards, one in the ring, one outside the ring. But by and large, this was a disappointing match, I felt like. Maybe I had high expectations for it. Whatever the case, it felt like something I was not expecting it to be, which was more, like I said, of a submission-style, ground, mat-based type match. So I do wonder if perhaps Samurai del Sol was dealing with some injury. I know that has been an issue in his past when he was supposed to be appearing at other promotions. Injury bug came up, so this might have been something similar. Time will tell if Samurai del Sol continues on in Impact, or if perhaps this was a one-shot because he is from Chicago. Also not appearing on these shows, Leo Rush. We just talked about it a second ago. All he had to show on both of these nights was a backstage vignette that they showed on the video screen where he attacked Samurai del Sol taking him out of the match. And that was it. He didn't appear. He didn't cut any promos. He didn't come out to do anything. So he is dealing with a nagging injury. I've heard ankle. I've heard shoulder. Not sure what it is. One, I would bet it's perhaps an ankle. Else, why would he not come out and at least cut a promo or do something with the commentary team? Anything like that. And there was nothing of that happening. Also on Friday's show, no Josh Alexander. He did appear slightly on Saturday's show near the end after the finish of the main event. He came out in a run-in along with another guy who appeared only on Saturday, Kushida, to help fend off the heels of Brian Myers, Moose, and Bully Ray, who have formed an alliance as of late. Leading into Emergence, where we're doing an 8-man tag with all of these competitors, and in the mix as well is Chris Sabin and Leo Rush. In that 8-man tag main event for Emergence, Josh Alexander, Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, Kushida against Bully Ray, Moose, Brian Myers, and Leo Rush. Speaking of Emergence, there was a couple of other matches that, pardon the pun, that emerged on these tapings. Very certainly, I think we're going to be seeing Diener against Eric Young in Emergence, and Diener challenged him to a no disqualification match as well. And there was a mini tag title tournament of sorts, the number one contendership on these shows. The semifinals were on Friday, and we'll talk about that in the results. And then the finals ended up being on Saturday night's taping. Winner of this mini tournament was Rascals. They will take on Subculture tag titles, presumably at Emergence. Also, I could see Frankie Kazarian against Eddie Edwards in another match, perhaps at Emergence. We may have the women involved as well, Tracy Brooks and Alicia. Maybe we'll have like a mixed tag in there. There was an angle on Friday's show where accidentally Frankie Kazarian caned Alicia Edwards. There's a video of that I did drop as well if you want to check that out. Otherwise, there potentially maybe a 3-way knockouts tag title match in Emergence between MK Ultra, the champions, that's Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich, as well as perhaps, this is just speculation, but based on how things went at the tapings, Giselle Shaw and Savannah Evans, maybe, and also the Death Dolls, maybe in a 3-way match at Emergence. But otherwise, you couldn't really get a hold of what they were scheduling much on this show. It was mostly matches, very little promo stuff. There was a little bit of promos here and there. No real separate angles in a segment or anything like that. So it's mostly just all action on these shows. I had 13 matches on the first night. I may be missing a match here. I guess we'll find out when the tapings happen. I tried to keep notes tight on this one. I had 13 matches listed for Friday, and I had 14 listed for Saturday. So let's get into Friday's results. Like I said, these have not been really dropped much on the internet. There's been I think it was a discussion board on an Impact fan site that talked a little bit about this stuff. They were trying to pull and put together some of the pieces that have come out through videos and stuff on YouTube. But that's really been all I found for spoilers on this one. So here are your Friday, July 28th spoilers for Impact on Access. This will be stuff that will be presumably airing on Thursday and then the following Thursday coming up here. So BTI, first there's 2 matches each night that were taped for BTI. Match number 1, Champagne Singh went over Kevin Knight. And then the second match for BTI, Johnny Swinger went over Shelton Jean. There was a lot of stuff going on with Kenny King in this match, and randomly Heath Slater, who apparently may be joining up with Johnny Swinger in some capacity going forward. We'll see where they go with that. I can see either a tag or maybe something like Heath Slater against Kenny King, maybe for the Digital Media Championship. I could see that happening as well for Emergence. Then this, I'm assuming, will kick off Impact on Thursday. Trinity Fatu came out for a promo talking about her Knockouts Championship win, talking about her history in Chicago where she debuted at the last tapings, etc., etc. This brought out Deonna Purrazzo, who will be challenging once again Trinity at Emergence in a rematch for that Knockouts Championship. She came out, got into a little bit with Trinity, and then the Coven showed up, getting in the faces of both Purrazzo and Trinity. They wanted a match right then and right there, and Santino came out and made the match happen. So opening match for the Access tapings was kind of a surprise finish. The Coven actually defeated Purrazzo and Trinity. Long story short, as these things usually do, in fact this finish seemed very similar to the last tapings in April where the Coven took on Purrazzo and Jordan Grace, but Trinity was going for a kick, accidentally hit Purrazzo. That led to the finish where I believe Kylan King pinned Purrazzo to set up their match the following day on the tapings, and the Coven went over Purrazzo and Trinity, just furthering that tension leading into Emergence between Purrazzo and Trinity. Then we got Heath Slater over Alan Angels. Not really much to say about this match, other than Heath Slater was in the crowd significantly. I don't remember if it was after the match or before the match, but he literally went into the lower level areas of the crowd and was all up in that. Also, match number 5 of the tapings, Jake Something went over Davey Vega, who's a local from Chicago. He's been in AEW and other promotions. This was a relatively competitive match, but I would call it a competitive squash win for Jake Something. Then we get into a triple threat for the Digital Media Championship. This was announced ahead of time, even on Impact last week, which makes me think perhaps this is going to be the main event on Impact this week. And we got Kenny King retaining over Yuya Uemura and Joe Henry. Kenny King pinned Uemura for the win. It was okay. It was just kind of a little bit of a going through the motions type of match, but Uemura particularly had some good hook spots and looked really good in there against these guys. But ultimately, he did the job against Kenny King, saving Joe Henry from doing that job. And I do wonder maybe at Emergence we might get a rematch with Henry and Kenny King. Hard to say. It's either going to be Heath Slater, I would figure, Johnny Swinger, or Joe Henry again. I kind of feel like Joe Henry needs to be maybe elevated though out of this Digital Media Championship stuff. Just my 2 cents on that. Match 7. So this was the start of the very, very brief, only 4 teams, the number 1 contendership tag title tournament that I think they'll probably run into at least 3 weeks here of TV. So first match of this little mini tournament was the Rascals going over Jonathan Gresham and Speedball Mike Bailey. Finish came when Trey had the green spray paint that got in the face of Gresham as he was about to get a submission on him. That costed them the match. And pinned on Gresham for the win for the Rascals. Gresham was very noticeably pissed off after the match. I wonder if some segment that they do in the back is going to lead to Jonathan Gresham maybe turning heel, maybe on Speedball Mike Bailey or something. They seem to be setting that up on the TV. Also, the second of this tag title number 1 contendership tournament occurred. Sami Callihan and Rich Swann defeated the team of ABC, Chris Bay and Ace Austin, when the Good Hands ran in to interfere and cost ABC the match. So there you go on that one. That leads to, on Saturday, the Rascals against Callihan and Swann in the finals of this little tournament that actually was a pretty excellent match. We'll talk about in a moment. Dirty Dango went over Bhupinder Gujjar. Not really much to this one. And then afterwards, Dango kind of did an open challenge of sorts. And also Johnny Bravo's with Dango now, if you weren't familiar with that. Long story short, though, did an open challenge of sorts. Jake Something came out, got in the face of Dango, So that appears to be maybe set for emergence as well. Jody Threat was next in match number 10, going over Alicia Edwards pretty quickly. And then afterwards, so Kazarian was out at ringside near the finish as Eddie Edwards kept interfering and causing chaos in the match, helping Alicia. Kazarian came out, got in the face of Edwards. There really wasn't much physicality, so to speak. A little bit. I think at one point Kazarian actually decked him, knocked him down. That went to the finish. Threat went over Alicia. And then as Kazarian had Eddie Edwards down, he grabbed the Singapore cane, which I believe Edwards brought out, was about to use it on him. And you can check out the video that I dropped, but was pulling back and accidentally whacked Alicia Edwards with the cane. So there is that storyline continuing to progress with Kazarian and Eddie Edwards. Next was the handicap match. We talked about it was originally supposed to be a 6-man, but Samurai Del Sol was taken out of the match by Lio Rush in a segment they showed on the video screen as the entrances happened. They did the entrance for Samurai Del Sol. He didn't show. Then they showed this little clip on the video screen where he got attacked by Lio Rush. So it became a handicap match. Bully Ray, Moose, Brian Myers, over Laredo Kid, and Black Taurus. Let me tell you something. A heavy Latino crowd here in Chicago, and they love Black Taurus and Laredo Kid all the frickin' way. At one point in this match, the lights went out. PCO showed up, got into it with Bully Ray, which seems like that's an impending feud that's coming down the way based on that angle they did where Bully Ray and Steve Backlund basically set PCO on fire. I'm guessing PCO and Bully Ray in a hardcore match, perhaps at Bound for Glory, because it's not happening at Emergence, that's for sure. And they're slow building this, I can tell. So PCO came out, got into it with Bully Ray. They went and brawled to the back. That left it a 2-on-2 match. And ultimately, I believe it was Laredo Kid doing the job in this one after a spear by Moose for the win. MK Ultra had a non-title match against Giselle Shaw and Jay Vidal. And it was a fine match. Nothing wrong with it. I believe Jay Vidal did the pin on this one, and MK Ultra went over here. Then we had Main Event Monday, a Main Event Monday taping match. I think this was the only one on the taping, so I wonder if they're doing this like once a month now. But it was a world title match. Alex Shelley going over Eddie Edwards in the final match on Friday. Let's move into Saturday, and like I said, this was a better show overall. The in-ring was so much better on this show. Let's get into it. BTI matches. Giselle Shaw went over Heather Reckless, another local from the Chicago area, all over the independent scene in Chicago. Also another independent guy from Chicago, Russ Jones, took on Champagne Singh in the second BTI match. Singh went over Jones in that one. Pretty competitive match. Actually, both of these matches were pretty competitive. After the Champagne Singh and Russ Jones match, out of nowhere, PCO ran in, causing havoc once again. He even put Champagne Singh on a table outside ringside and did I believe it was a senton onto Champagne Singh at ringside. Bully Ray then showed up on video, and I believe this is for the last week of BTI right before Emergence. But Bully Ray was quoted as saying that he was not in the building and he wasn't going to show up because the fans are terrible and the arena is terrible, all this kind of stuff. So he was basically avoiding PCO. This feud will continue, no doubt. And then we get into the actual Impact Access tapings. Once again, opening this one was Kushida over Speedball Mike Bailey. This was my favorite match of both nights. This was awesome. A lot of really, really stiff stuff. Felt like both guys were basically working like New Japan Strong Style in this match. Just all-out action. There was one spot where Kushida did some sort of flip outside the ring, and immediately after he missed that, Bailey countered by a springboard moonsault that has to be seen. I didn't get a clip of that. So check that out when this match airs. This match was so good. Top rope, hoverboard lock. Started at the top. They both bumped on the ground on the mat. And then that hoverboard lock continued onto Bayley for the win for Kushida. Deonna Purrazzo over Kylan King was next. This was yet another solid match. It felt like that was a little bit elevated, particularly compared to the Friday stuff. I think star ratings wise, I would give probably Kushida and Bayley 4 stars. I would give Purrazzo and Kylan King probably 3.25. Purrazzo did go over Kylan King after hijinks from Taylor Wilde went straight. Then we got a triple threat match for match number 5 on Saturday night. Killer Kelly went over Jessica and Savannah Evans. Like I said, I feel like that sets up the triple threat tag title match for the Knockouts titles at Emergence, possibly. Match number 6 was awesome. This was right up there as maybe the second best match of the taping. Moose went over Kevin Knight in a match you wouldn't think would really amount to much, but you got to see this match. Just excellent, really, really physical stuff from Moose, basically beating the shit out of Kevin Knight early in this match. Kevin Knight had a great babyface comeback here with just as much physicality. I mean, these two guys must have made a pact before the match. Let's just beat the shit out of each other and let's get the crowd really into this, and boy did they ever. Lots of great near falls near the end of this. A must-see match on the Impact taping here with Moose and Kevin Knight. Eric Young was next over Khan by disqualification. I've heard some results call this a no contest, but Diener interfered in the match at the end. Thus, Eric Young went over Connor. Big Khan gave him a choke slam. Diener DDT'd Eric Young onto chairs. So there was a bit of an angle that happened after this match. Bully Ray over Black Taurus in a no disqualification match that definitely delivered here. Just tables, ladders, and chairs all over the place in this match. Black Taurus was bumping like crazy for Bully Ray. I feel like Bully Ray could have given Taurus a little bit more here in this match, but as it were, Black Taurus did do the job for Bully Ray after a missed, basically a senton spot where he landed really badly on a flat ladder in the ring. I'll be posting this after these matches air, some of these finishes, but this one was painful looking. He lost the match after that spot, and he rolled out to the ring near where I was sitting in front row. I was front row ringside once again for these tapings, and he actually pulled his mask off slightly. He was having trouble appearing to breathe. Referees were checking on him big time. He appeared to do something maybe to his lower back. So hopefully he's not too seriously injured, but I kind of wonder what happened here with Black Taurus for sure. PCO appeared. Once again, the lights went out after this match. PCO appeared, got into it with Bully Ray. Bully Ray even powerbombed him through a table with PCO dead, no soul. Chased Bully Ray to the back, and that was it for this one. We got the finals of that number 1 contender tag tournament. The Rascals went over Rich Swann and Sami Callihan. Good match, really good stuff. Once again, the spray paint got involved. Spray painted, I believe it was Rich Swann for the finish. And Rascals go over, taking on Subculture at Emergence. Diener won over Laredo Kid next, and after the match, Diener did challenge Eric Young to a no disqualification match at Emergence. Match number 11 was another really, really good match. Trinity over Jody Threat. Really check this match out. It was real good. Non-title match. This was originally supposed to be Taylor Wilde against Trinity. I don't know what happened, but we got this match instead, and I think it was an upgrade because this was a fun match, no doubt. ABC went over the Good Hands next. It was fine. I felt like everybody worked really hard in this match. Jason Hotch took the pin after the double team finish by ABC. Chris Sabin went over Samurai Del Sol in the co-main event. I talked about this already. I felt like it was a bit of a letdown. It's more mat-based, more ground-based, submission-based. Chris Sabin did win with his cradle shot finish for the victory. And then main event, Alex Shelley over Brian Myers. Really solid. I liked this match better than the Shelley match with Eddie Edwards from Friday. This match will air on Impact TV as well. They did confirm that by the stuff on the video screen. This should be airing right before Emergence on that Thursday prior. And like I said, really, really solid match. I thought this was one of the best Brian Myers matches I've seen in Impact, period. Afterwards, Bully Ray and Moose did a run-in, taking out Shelley. That led to Kushida and getting the big pop. Josh Alexander finally making an appearance here on these tapings to take the heels out. Afterwards, they cut a promo, which I think will probably air, or actually not air on TV. So I did drop it on the channel. Check that out, where they just basically thank the fans for coming in and set up things a little bit for Emergence in that angle. And then 8-man tag that will be set for the pay-per-view Emergence. That's it for everything from Chicago Heat. Come on back tomorrow. We got a look at NXT's Great American Bash Top 10 Take Style. Back here with some more wrestling rants tomorrow. See you then.